This is Tim Albright with AV Network SCN Tech Talk. With me today is George Preston. George is from SpinetiX. Welcome, sir.
Hi, Tim.
InfoComm was a couple months ago. You and I weren't able to connect there. So for those of you who weren't able to make it, talk for a second about the message that your visitors took away from their time from InfoComm.
What I hope they took away is a feeling that, in spite of a real broadening of our product portfolio over the last 3 years, I mean, we've not just added cloud, we've added a free cloud, we've added the enterprise SaaS product, and now this integration between on-premise and cloud. Despite that evolution, we've stuck to our values that people know us for. So quality, a full solution where everything comes from SpinetiX and we make sure the bits of the puzzle work together. But probably more than anything else, expanding and designing all these new things without elbowing out the channel partner and diminishing their role, doing it in such a way that it all the design complements that local presence that we get from our partner ecosystem.
Well, okay, so talk about that for a second, because there are some dealer partners who will go, no, it feels very much like you're kind of bypassing it, but you're not. You're working in conjunction with them. Walk them through that process for a second.
So with our cloud product, it's sold. We go to market in the same way as something with a one-time cost. That is to say, we bill the customer for the first year in advance. It's a 1-year commitment, no more than that. And then any more players they add before a month or a week later, or even 11 months later, are prorated and added to their account. Very important thing that lots of end users call for. And then 60, 30 and 0 days up until the renewal point, we have an automated reminder system. We work with our distributors, and then the billing happens again. And we do that every year that the customer renews.
Oh, excellent. One of the things you guys have been talking about for a while is a software as a service, which is what we're discussing here. Getting integrators, getting dealers to a SaaS model has been interesting over the last 10 years or so. There are some that have done it really well, some that are still kind of resisting. Why should integrators be interested or be excited about a software as a service model?
I think the first thing is, speaking for Signage, this is definitely a product that fits an ongoing cost model. And I say that because any compelling channel of signage content today, whether it's in a corporate office or anywhere else, will have some dependency on a feed, external, internal data or something. And to keep that working, to keep that dependency running, involves ongoing work, which involves recurring cost. Now, we know this because we have end users who come to us saying, we're moving off another product. It's been 3 years or 5 years because that was the minimum commitment. And what they say usually is, it's really been static. We've had a few bug fixes, but things haven't changed. And now we're looking for something that's a bit fresher. So for the integrator, keeping it fresh means they renew. Now, I know that some integrators watching that will say, well, that's a bit of a self-fulfilling answer, because why go for recurring revenue because you get recurring revenue? I think actually there's another reality to SaaS, which isn't so obvious. And that's that with our software as a service product, more than half of all customers in year one expand without any proactive sales effort. And that was a surprise to us. We had planned and hoped for a strong renewal rate, which we have, but we hadn't planned all this organic growth. So I would say to integrators considering or looking at recurring revenue products, you get to grow your business not just on the dimension of recurrence, but also on the dimension of organic growth that I cannot say we ever saw to the same degree when we had a one-time cost offer.
When you talk to customers about those expansions, what are they giving back to you? Like what's driving that expansion by over half of the new customers?
We get some information from the telemetry, and we do talk because we have a product management team now who get direct feedback from customers. But remember, SpinetiX is, unlike a lot of players in the market, we really appeal to a long tail of people with 1, 2, 5, 10 units. So we don't talk to all of them. I think actually the attitude of having an evergreen product that's iteratively improving all the time. Every couple of weeks we might make small improvements and changes based on the aggregate user feedback. I think that's what drives the expansion, because after a year a different person in the organization says, subconsciously perhaps, a year ago I wasn't very interested, but now these improvements mean that I am, so I'm going to get these screens for my office as well.
You use the term evergreen. What are some of the things of being evergreen or being universal, kind of sold, off the shelf solutions? Some compromises are typically involved there, right? So what's some of the compromises? What are some of the things that you had to sacrifice?
That's a good question. I think, yeah, anyone who knows our cloud product would remember that it's very simple, very approachable. Really, we really call it a zero training product. And that means that we cannot just say yes to everything. I mean, if you had we come into the market a few years ago, I think we'd probably be in the same trap that I'm afraid a lot of vendors are, which is they say ultimately, well, we're a CMS for universities, or we're for banks, or because you've got to, you end up playing to your biggest customers' needs, and you can't put everything into the product. But remember, we came in with a cloud SaaS product after 12 years of building up expertise with an on-premise tool, and our on-premise tool is very powerful. It's considered to be a kind of Photoshop of Signage. There are thousands of people who've been trained, tens of thousands of Avixa credits given out for that expertise. And so what we've engineered is a way that you can create the complex things in that software tool and then send them into your customer's account. So I'll give you a quick example. Let's say a customer says, I want to get a table of data from an Excel sheet that lives in the cloud. Well, it's objectively quite complex. You need to set up the security, the authorization first, and that might need multi-factor authentication. What if the user forgets their password halfway through? How many lines do you then want in the table? How often do you want the data to update? Plenty of questions. That's a conversation that's best had with someone who is an expert on that, i.e. an integrator. And what they can do is build that for the customer, that object, and then with a couple of clicks, they send that securely into the customer's environment. And then it's for the customer to use as an object that they can schedule and manipulate alongside all the simple content that they already have. So we haven't had to really compromise in that sense, because we managed to keep the cloud clean and everything else gets done with this expert tool.
Oh, very cool. This is a cloud-based solution, right? What do you say to customers who may be a little, averse, standoffish about deploying a cloud-based solution on their network simply because of security concerns?
I would say, I mean, I'm not pushing away the security concerns. We do have them. I look at the end user base that we are continuing to acquire every month, every week, and I look at some of the fintech clients we have, some of the government organization clients we have, who 6 months ago, a year ago, didn't want cloud and now do, and the hoops we've jumped through, the standards, the penetration testing, everything that we've done. I would say to people, if you have security concerns, talk to us about some of these customers who I can't talk about publicly, but we could have a private conversation about, and I'd be happy to allay any of those fears. But I must say, I think we're seeing less of this conversation about on-premise versus cloud, because in the atmosphere we're in now of work from home, hybrid working, hoteling and all this kind of thing, people are going into offices which are now only internet connected anyway. So everything they're doing is on the cloud. If you have an IoT product in your home, like a smart light bulb, you don't connect to it locally, you connect to it through the cloud, because that ends up actually being the most secure way. Why? Because you don't trust anything on the internal network. And this is a paradigm called zero trust, which we've been learning about this year, led by actually government, public sector, chief information officers, governed public sector organizations saying zero trust is going to be, in 2 years, everything. It won't be that it's cloud or on-prem, it's that we'll treat everything like it's on the public network.
George, if somebody wants to get a hold of SpinetiX, how do they do that to find out more?
www.spinetix.com, select your region and you'll find contacts.
All right, very good. George Preston from SpinetiX. Thank you for SCN and the AV Network. You can find us at avnetwork.com. avnetwork.com, you'll find more tech talks like this. All that and more at avnetwork.com.